You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Humble host Hunter here. Happy Halloween season, everyone. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're getting your decorations up, got your candy, and got your costumes. I don't think I'm going to dress up this year. I think I'm going to do a basic bitch costume, so I'll probably do something Loki inspired, honestly, but it'll be fun. But hope you're all having a great time of the year. Hope you're all staying safe. So, I have a review for a movie that I've referenced a couple times on the show, and I have a bit of a backstory here, so if y'all would humor me, I've got a review for Jennifer's Body, which is directed by, not Diablo Cody, I always want to say that. It's not directed by Diablo Cody, it's directed by Karen Kusama. It's written by Diablo Cody. So, to go ahead and get into my little backstory here. So, as I've mentioned, I have two younger siblings, and they were both basically this and Twilight, because this came out, 2009. So, Twilight Eclipse was 2010. So, this is right in the middle of, like, Twilight Mania and Glee. And I'm just going to be honest with y'all, all that shit just kind of hitting was a perfect storm of just me being annoyed, because it was basically those three things constantly being talked about. And look, I wasn't a fan of Megan Fox. I'm not a huge fan of her now as far as an actress. She seems like a nice person, but as far as her acting ability, And after seeing that second Transformers movie, Revenge of the Fallen, is that the second one? Sure. I remember just going like, oh my god, this woman just needs to go the fuck away. But in particular of Jennifer's Body, I remember it was just one of those movies that the people who loved it. The people who hated it, like myself, hated it. And it was just this constant, though, of you just don't get it. You're a guy. Oh my god, why do you like this? And so, look, when I initially saw it back in 2009, that I would have been 22. I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. But as I've talked about on the show before, I remember the first time I saw The Matrix, and I was like, God, The Matrix fucking sucks. I didn't get it. I didn't think it was good at all. But then I gave it 2 years, and I just went. Now, obviously, this doesn't apply for all films. Usually, when I see something, I go, "Oh yeah, I'm pretty set on my feeling about it." But this is something I went. Look, I'm a big fan of Diablo Cody and what she did post Jennifer's Body, because she did Young Adult with Charlize Theron, which I adore. She actually wrote Ricky and the Flash, and while I'm not crazy about that movie, I think there is a charm to it. But she did that, and then she did Tully, which was in 2018. So I think Diablo Cody's a pretty damn good writer. I don't think she always hits, but I think she's a very good writer. And so I went back and I rewatched this last year. And I was originally going to review this for the Real Spooky series for 2022. But I went on my Facebook and I posted about how, hey, Jennifer's Body is an underrated horror film. I didn't say it was a cult classic. I didn't say it's, the bee's knees or anything like that. I just said it's an underrated flick that people should probably go back and rewatch. And one of my siblings basically went on this whole tirade about how, I was unfair to the movie and I suck, essentially. And so, because I was highly annoyed because it turned into a whole dramatic situation for absolutely no fucking reason, I didn't think it was fair to the movie to review it with all of that happening so in close proximity to me watching it. So I actually went back again about a week ago and rewatched this again just so it's somewhat fresh in the mind and everything. And so now I feel like I'm comfortable enough in a space to be completely fair, completely biased, and go ahead and give my review. So that's the little story behind why this was delayed. But this movie, of course, stars Megan Fox, stars Amanda Seyfried, who I'm a big fan of. Amanda Seyfried, I adore her work, and they go ahead and play Jennifer and Needy respectively. And just from jump, I will say, because there's a lot of moving parts to this movie, as far as not just the film really, but as far as the marketing. Because if you think back to the marketing, and I would even encourage you just to do a quick YouTube search or Google search on the marketing. It's Jennifer, it's sorry, Megan Fox, but it's Jennifer in like a short skirt. It's definitely teasing that's going to be more of like a sex comedy with a few horror elements instead of the other way around. And I think that distinction is really important to make before I get into this review, to be completely fair to it. Because the way that it was pitched, it killed this movie. It absolutely brutalized this movie. That's one of the things that's wrong with it, was the marketing. The marketing did this film absolutely no favors. And to be quite frank, it really does show how marketing can just tank a film before it even goes ahead and has a chance to hit cinemas. And the other thing, and I don't think enough people have brought this up in their critiques, because I'll be real, y'all, I went through, because I do try to be somewhat informed, so I went through and I watched like probably 8 or 9 pretty lengthy essays about why Jennifer's Body is a cult classic, and why, and men were too hard on this, and da 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 da. And look, multiple things can be true. Were men probably too hard on this movie? Yeah, to an extent. But kind of like Bill Burr says about the WNBA, like, women, you do need to go out and support this shit. And yes, this definitely has gained a cult following. I would say post all of this. But I think the biggest thing that really, really hurt this movie outside of the advertising is the rating. It's rated R. And to be quite honest, after rewatching it, I think they say fuck maybe like 3 times, maybe 4. If you cut the fucks out, you pretty much have a PG-13 movie. And I think that actually would have played way better with with high school audiences being able to see this, instead of having to wait for it to hit digital or Blu-ray. And I was really quite confused by that watching this, because even the horror stuff, the violence, so much of it is shown in shadow, or you see like blood splatter. I went, you could do this as PG-13 and get away with it. I was really, I mean, I know that obviously no one at Fox or 20th Century now, since Disney owns them, they'll own this podcast at some point. But the fact that tweak wasn't made, I was really flabbergasted by that. I have no idea if anyone who was even involved with the marketing is at 20th Century anymore, but I'd love to ask somebody and be like, why did this happen? Why did no one just think to make the pivot to PG-13? I said the same thing about Birds of Prey when it came out, but at least Birds of Prey shown, broken bones and shit, so I understand why I had to keep that R. But in this case, I just felt like it was unnecessary. It felt like a weird marketing ploy to make it rated R, to make you think you'd see, Megan Fox's boobs or something. And it was very odd on a rewatch. And I really think that if you make that switch to PG-13, we're having a different conversation right now. But I'll talk about that more as we kind of go through here. So let me just kind of jump into the plot here. So the movie goes ahead and opens up with Needy, Amanda Seyfried's character, and she's in prison. And we are informed to the fact that the events of what occurs, or what we're about to watch, happened a couple months ago. And There is this shot in particular at the 437 mark, and I want all y'all to make a note of it. The mark at the 437 mark, this shot in particular is fucking gorgeous. And if it didn't make you think that Karen Kusama would be something, that was kind of the almost a light bulb moment where I went, she really does get how to frame elements in horror, and it's going to serve her well down the road. And she ended up doing that movie, The Invitation, which I'm probably going to review at some point this month because I actually really like The Invitation. But Amanda Seyfried, she's in prison. She's adapting to prison life. She there's this prison guard that tries to fuck with Needy, and Needy kicks the shit out of her. She kicks her like she's in fucking 300. And I, just from jump, I appreciated that. It was something that caught me completely off guard. I went, I really like that. Well played, movie. This movie is definitely giving Buffy the Vampire Slayer vibes, for better or for worse. And I'll definitely get in that in a second. But it felt like when the script was being written, that was very much a part of the inspiration behind this movie. And the other big influence on this movie is definitely Heathers. Like, that is a huge influence on this film. And that's kind of the biggest issue with this movie, is that it just isn't as good as Heathers. And Heathers was very, was a lot more straightforward. This gets a little lost in the weeds, but I'll get to that here. But Needy is going ahead and telling us the story from prison. One of the lines I actually really like to start off the movie is, she goes, "I wasn't always this cracked. I used to be normal. Well, as normal as any girl under influence of teenage hormones," which, let's be clear, I mean, I'm closing in on 40, oh god, but I remember being a teenager, and being a teenager sucks so bad because your brain is just going a mile a minute. Oh my god, oh my god, their ass is nice. Oh my god, am I gay? Oh my god, what's going on? Oh god, colors. Like there's so much going on with your hormonal brain that it's legitimately overwhelming. And I was in high school back in 2000, 2001. This is before TikTok and the insanity that is social media. I was on MySpace back in the day. So when she's talking about insane teenage hormones, which admittedly from two women in their mid-20s making this movie is very ha ha ha. But it's true though. It's a lot being a teenager. I don't know how kids fucking do it now. The movie itself takes place in Devil's Kettle. That's the name of the actual town. It's a population of 7,036 people. When the movie opens up and we actually see Devil's Kettle, one thing I thought that was actually really interesting is that they show this waterfall, but it's not a normal waterfall. It's just the water just kind of goes in this hole and just stops. And it, again, this is me just spitballing. It feels like maybe that's like the town itself. There's another dimension to the town, or maybe that waterfall or lack thereof is like their hellmouth, similar to Buffy. I do think that there's room to expand this universe, and I'll get to that as I get later on in the review. But that was something I just found very interesting. So at this point, we're introduced to Jennifer, of course, played by Megan Fox. And one of the lines that Needy drops is, people have a hard time thinking that a babe like Jennifer would associate with a dork like me, but Sam Buck's love never dies, which I thought was a cute line. And that is one other thing I do wish this movie would have done more, is I wish we would have gotten to see more of the sandbox love, because in order for us to buy into Jennifer versus Needy, I really would have liked more of a foundation on their relationship. It's very similar to that movie Brightburn, where the kid breaks bad, goes insane, starts killing people in the town. Okay, fine, I can buy that, but I need to see this kid more being a good kid in order for the the Rogue, the Injustice Superman arc to land, and that was my biggest problem with that movie, and that's really probably one of my biggest issues with this movie is that we don't get to see Jennifer and Needy, their relationship pre all of this. It's really just kind of told to us, and we're left to fill in the blanks. And we do get a few, like maybe one or two flashbacks of them as kids, and that's really it. I would have liked to have seen. I just saw Joyride, which I haven't reviewed yet. It's fantastic, by the way, but that's one of the things that they do so well with the main characters in that movie is that we do get a montage of them as kids going through these life events together. And honestly, a montage would have worked fine in this movie, but we just don't get that. It's just told to us. And that was a point of true frustration for me because you need to have your foundation before you make a turn like this. One of the things that I do appreciate about this movie is it definitely shows how much of an alpha Jennifer is. Needy goes this whole list of rules that Jennifer has. She said where she even says where something cute means something specific in Jennifer speak. Like it means I can't look like a total zero, but I couldn't upstage her either. And it's really funny trying to see them dress down Amanda Seyfried, who is fucking gorgeous. She even says, I could expose my stomach, but never my tits. And it's like, damn, that's shitty. Okay. But they go ahead and they go to this bar where Jennifer and Needy meet Needy's boyfriend, Chip. Chip is played by Johnny Simmons. You know him from a lot of shit. He plays this sort of role kind of perfectly, that nerdy boyfriend type, because he plays basically the same fucking character in Aubrey Plaza's the To-Do List, which if you have not seen the To-Do List, watch the To-Do List. It's fucking wonderful. But he's basically playing the same character in that. He's basically playing the same character in Scott Pilgrim as Neil. He's gotten a lot of mileage out of playing this type, and hey, he gets to act alongside some amazing actresses. So hey, good for him. But getting to the humor of the movie, which I will say for me, as I mentioned Buffy season 1 earlier, for better or for worse, this is very heavily inspired by Buffy the Vampire Slayer, especially in terms of the dialogue and how the characters talk to each other. The humor doesn't always work, but the humor that does work really works for me. There's a point where I think it's Needy brings up Phil Collins, and Chip, with no sense of irony, completely deadpans, like, wait, who's Phil Collins? And it made me feel so old in that moment to hear someone not know who Phil Collins is. It's like, oh, fuck off. I think it's Chip who says it to Needy. He goes, salty means beautiful. Well, then you must be soy sauce. And stuff like that, where you're just like, okay, like, cringe. And that's where I do feel like the film has a bit of an identity crisis, because it's very much trying to speak in the way that teenagers speak to each other. And again, I don't know how teenagers speak to each other now. Who the fuck knows? I don't know what's on fleek. God, I felt old just doing that. But but I do think that there's a bit of, it's a bit much at points, and so if you are annoyed by some of the dialogue, I can't get on you for that, because I get it. But for the most part, I think it's more like 65-35. Most of the dialogue did work for me, but the stuff that did annoy me really did annoy me. There's straight up a point, and I think this is actually before they go to the bar to see this band. There's straight up a point where Jennifer just goes, "It smells like Thai food in here. Have you guys been fucking?" And I was like, Jesus, okay. Like, there's no subtlety in Jennifer whatsoever, and that's kind of like, I think we all kind of have that friend. But there is a point where I was like, damn, that's ugh, okay. But that line in particular definitely caught me off guard. Chris Pratt is in this, and that was something I completely forgot. Chris Pratt is basically playing this fucking. Um, he's playing a guy named Roman Duda. So he's dressed up in this like military esque garb. It's like he's already. It's like he knew the tomorrow war was going to happen, but he's he's dressed very much in that sort of attire, and it's very ironic to see Chris Pratt dressed in shit like that, knowing his politics and how he kind of, you know, he goes, people hate Jesus too. Like, if Jesus dressed like that, they would have every right to hate him. But it was just very weird to see Chris Pratt in this movie because again, I just completely forgot that he was in this. And speaking of Chris Pratt, Jennifer just drops this piece of knowledge that, sure, she talks about the fact that she's not a backdoor virgin anymore, thanks to Roman. I couldn't even go to Six Flags the next day because I had to sit home and sit on a bag of frozen peas, which, admittedly, I did laugh at. I was like, that's like shit. Okay, so the big crux is that this band, Low Shoulder, Hurt Shoulder, something shoulder, that band, they want fame and fortune like most indie bands do, and they go ahead and they make a pact with the devil to go ahead and sacrifice someone who's a virgin. And that is probably the most poignant point I think that the film makes, is that if Jennifer had just said that she was promiscuous, they wouldn't have sacrificed her. I mean, Lord knows what they would have done, to her anyway. I mean, do they just let her go? Probably not. But it does get into the whole slut shaming aspect of society, which, definitely exists far more on the female side than on the male side. But I found that very interesting, that juxtaposition and how the film does bring that up. I wish they would have actually talked about it more, because they kind of just address it the one time. They go like, "Oh, are you a virgin?" She goes, "Yes," and I just went, "Oh, well," because there are points where Jennifer talks to Needy after she's been possessed, and that actually could have been a conversation that they had, and the movie never brings that up really, and I just went, "Oh, that's a missed opportunity." The band itself, the guys in the band are actually pretty funny because they're even talking about how like indie rock, it's really hard to make it in indie now. Everyone needs a leg up, so if we have to go ahead and work with Satan, then god damn it, we'll work with Satan. Yeah, the band, I can't remember. I don't think this is in the movie because I don't think they existed, but they really sound like if you can make 30 Seconds to Mars suck even more. Like they're a shittier version of 30 Seconds to Mars. Like it's kind of incredible how much these guys suck. If they were an opening band for someone I actually wanted to see, it would definitely be one of those, all right, I might go get dinner and come back because eek, like they're not good. And I think that's very much part of the joke. But it was pretty funny that that's how they played it. Also, and I think Needy brings this up. The whole bar that they're performing in, it gets set on fire, and they are so nonplussed about the building being on fire. I went, that's weird. Like you should be more what the fuck about this than you are. The fact you're so like, whatever. I went, that's weird. Like, what the fuck? I yeah, wasn't crazy about that. Needy or not Needy. Jennifer drops the line of, did you was the model of the van a 1989 rapist? Which, oh my god, the moment I saw this van, I went, oh, this van screams rape vibes. If you were driving this van anywhere near an elementary school, the cross guard would be telling the kids to get across the street as quickly as fucking possible. It is the creepiest looking van. it could be the van from Black Phone. I just didn't make the connection. Like it's crazy how creepy looking the van is. I mean, vans in general don't exactly inspire confidence, but this van in particular, if it was in Disney's Cars, it would have the creepiest fucking voice in the world. It would sound like him from the Powerpuff Girls. Like it is a horrendously terrifying looking van. So Jennifer shows up, of course, at Needy's house after the barn is burned down and people have dispersed, gone running. And okay, so I didn't mention this yet, but Amy Sedaris is in this movie as Needy's mom. I just love Amy Sedaris. I love seeing her. She's not in this movie a ton, but the conversations I think we get between her and Needy are fun. But but when Jennifer shows up in Needy's kitchen because Needy's mom works nights, I found that scene actually pretty sad, honestly, because Jennifer is being so cold and callous about people dying. Um, Needy even asks, did we know anyone? And Jennifer goes, we knew everyone. And I was like, damn, that's like shit. Okay, that's cold. But the thing is, Needy is not showing in any respect the amount of intensity that she should be, considering Jennifer threw up black goop like on her kitchen floor and she's just cleaning it up like someone spilled some juice. Like the Danger Will Robinson danger alarm is not going off for Needy yet. And look, I get it's horror and I get that as a black dude, this is something in horror I always just go like, God damn it, why does everyone act so nonchalant when demonic shit is occurring? I know it's white people, but but God damn it, Needy, there needs to be more intensity with how you're dealing with this shit. You're being way too nonplussed about it, and that kind of drove me nuts, especially for someone that's supposed to be your best friend. Um, yeah, that irked me. Needy continues by talking about how the whole country had a huge tragedy boner for Devil's Kettle, and it's really interesting, that line in particular, because when you think about how unfortunately school shootings occur like fucking damn near daily at this point, how the country just treats it like it's something that just happens when it's clearly not. We should have fucking gun control laws, but the whole murder boner or tragedy boner aspect is such a thing, because I do think that people fetishize certain events that occur and it's like, oh my god, what a tragedy, I'm gonna act like I care but not actually care. And so to bring up that point back when this movie was made back in '09, I was actually pretty impressed with that. And it's something that it's an element of the film that's actually aged better. I was actually like, oh wow, I appreciate that they brought that up. Right on. And this is where Jennifer goes ahead and starts killing boys at the school. And look, this is probably my biggest issue with the film. So I know a lot of people said, it's like, it's a film about taking down piece of shit men. Okay, fine. It's about taking down piece of shit men. The problem is, like, none of these men were pieces of shit. At least that we were shown. They were just horny high school guys that went, oh, this girl's paying attention to me. Yeah, I'll follow you in the woods or whatever. But that's it. Like, it's not like these guys were, harassing women or kicking puppies or anything. It was just that these guys happened to be around. So when people were like, yeah, take those men down, I went, what did they do? Like, they didn't do shit. And it's actually kind of gross the way people are like, yeah, take them down. I went, why? They didn't do anything. The movie itself also never explains why Jennifer isn't able to go ahead and just go after shoulder, just go after the band. It's never brought up, and it's confusing to me because Jennifer brings up the fact that she needs to feed on boys. Like, okay, you need to feed in order to stay, you know, pretty. Okay, totally fine. I can wrap my head around that. Vampire, demon, sure, fine. But then even the movie just goes, oh, actually, she can feed on needy too. It's like, and she goes, oh, I go both ways. And I went, well, you're throwing that out here in the bottom of the ninth. You hadn't like established that, but okay, I guess. Um, and this is what takes me back to the whole rated R versus PG-13 thing, because the first guy the second guy she kills this one guy on the way over to Needy's house, which, man, that poor bastard, the way he got it, I was like, that sucks. But the guy she kills, who was really close to to Jonah, the way that she kills him out in the middle of the woods, it's very much a South Park moment where all the woodland creatures are kind of looking at this dude like, you need to get the fuck out of here, man. Like, I don't care how hot she is, you need to fucking leave. And I really like that, because animals, of course, are always the first to know that something's about to go down. So if an animal's ever looking at you like that, you should just get the fuck out of the area that you're in. But that scene again, like, he looks up at Jennifer and her mouth gets all big and it's like, I'm gonna eat you. And that's it. That's all we see. And then we see blood splatter. And, it goes back to what I said about the whole PG-13 versus R rating, where you could make this PG-13 and you would still be able to get the point across I think this movie is trying to do. And it sucks that decision was made, because I really think it really took the knees out of a film that probably could have done better at the box office. And I think it actually would have been more effective to show it in shadow, knowing it's a PG-13 movie, versus having it be rated R and feel like you're getting gypped because you're not seeing any of the gore. I think that's an important distinction that we need to make, and I think that it really does hurt the film overall. And to kind of tie in with that, one of the big things that the film just goes whatever about, it never addresses Jennifer's feelings about the band that kills her, which she's aware of because she talks about how the band killed her. So either the demon is like pretty intelligent, or there's still some Jennifer in there. The movie never really clarifies it, but because you could obviously argue that it's just a demon in a body. But if that's the case, then why does she act like Jennifer? Why is she keeping up this appearance like when she could just be hot, especially when Needy knows that she's a demon? So that's where I think the canon, the lore of the movie is just not well thought out. And this is one of those cases where the film is just over an hour 30. It's like an hour 40-ish. I really think this needed to be like 2 hours, 5 minutes, just to flesh some of that shit out and tighten the writing a little bit, because there are those things that the movie just kind of goes whatever about. And I went, okay, for you trying to establish something supernatural, you need to actually invest in this a little bit, and the movie doesn't on that front, and that was rather irritating to me. Just kind of going through a couple other things here. The band, and this actually made me laugh out loud, so I have to give the movie credit for this. They flat out say 3% of the profits from Through the Trees, which is their song, as a benefit single, will go to local families. I was like, 3%? You couldn't even give them the 10%, you greedy motherfuckers? Like, I laughed really hard at that, because the lack of sincerity on that front to offer 3 fucking percent. It's like, fuck off. Like, that's fucking nothing. I that really did catch me off guard, and it was just like, oh my god, that's really funny. Also, the memorial for Jonah, one of the people that Jennifer kills, it's very dumb that the town just had a barn burned down, and yet there are open flames on these candles in the middle of a high school. It was something that I noticed, and I went, okay, I don't know if this is like intentionally trying to show how dumb the school is, or if it's just an oversight. But either way, I was like, oh my god, that is horrendously dumb. Holy shit. So then the rest of the movie really is Jennifer, going through these guys, killing them, and then basically trying to go ahead and find a way to go ahead and stop Jennifer. A lot will be made, of course, about the scene where they make out with each other, which I will be the first to admit, hot, but also very weird that Needy again knows that Jennifer is killing all these people and still makes out with her. But I digress. That's where they have the whole conversation about what happened to Jennifer, and I don't know. I think there's, outside of the hotness, I do think there's a lot of sincerity in that scene. I actually wish the scene went on a little longer. And while it would have been exposition, very heavy on the exposition front, that's where you kind of could have established why Jennifer can't go after low shoulder, and they don't, and they just gloss over it, and I really felt like that's why that scene was gonna exist. And so then when they don't establish that, I was like, God damn it, you had a chance right there, and you just kind of went, eh. Also, a very good rule of thumb: if you were ever going to hook up with someone, use Google Maps. Google where the fuck they are, because if you're into some sketchy ass neighborhood, you might want to think twice. It's one of those things where there's this one guy that Jennifer ends up tearing apart, like rips him to fucking shreds. Colin is his name. Rips him fucking apart. It's this abandoned ass house in the middle of fucking nowhere. It's the one house that has a fucking street on, or a light on, and presumably everyone else is just kind of out of town or something. But this house looks like it's had some construction going on, so maybe that's why people just kind of went, oh, it's that house, whatever. But that scene's actually really cool in the way that the seduction kind of happens, where Colin, smart white boy, I gotta give him this, realizes kind of early on ish that, oh fuck, you're like, this is bad, you're gonna fucking kill me, aren't you? And there's this really cool effect where Jennifer's eyes like blink a different way. It's kind of similar to Men in Black in that way, and I really like that. I really like that effect. And we see Jennifer throw her hair back while she's just ripping into Colin's body, but again, you see it in shadow. I'm gonna defend it in this point because I do think that the use of like the tarp that they have and the fact that it's at night and the way that the lighting is done, I actually think that it does do a good job of getting the horror aspect across without showing everything. But it's going to be the one time in this movie that I actually defend it. I was just kind of like, oh, that's cool for this scene. But for the rest of the movie, I was, obviously irritated that I didn't get to see more given the rating. So I didn't mention either that there's a point where Needy is sleeping with Chip, so presumably losing her virginity. But while she's losing her virginity, she's seeing Colin get ripped apart, which at this point Jennifer hadn't bitten Needy or anything, so them having this connection doesn't really make sense. But sure, I guess. Yeah, that was a bit odd. But just getting near the end of the movie, I mentioned the makeout scene between Jennifer and Needy. It's made weirder by the fact that Jennifer had threatened her like not even 20 seconds earlier, but Needy's still like, oh, let's make out. Just weird. Chip and Needy break up because Needy is terrified about Chip's well-being, which actually, given the circumstances, makes sense. Needy starts looking up things about this demon that has possessed Jennifer, and it's really funny how there's just a whole occult section in the library that knows exactly what Needy needs to know. It's really funny how she goes, well, if she doesn't eat, then she gets ugly. but like ugly for Jennifer, which for Jennifer is like a couple's it's like most high schoolers. But you know, when she's well fed, she's glowing and gorgeous and everything. I actually like the way they kind of play with that aspect of Jennifer. This of course all culminates at the prom. I think it's called the snowflake dance or something like that. Yeah, snowflake dance. And what's what's really actually sad, and this is why the movie is frustrating, because I do think Diablo Cody got what she was trying to say in elements of this, but I really think this is one of those cases where going from something like Juno straight to this, I really think she needed someone to work with her on just fleshing the ideas out. Because there's this point where Jennifer is just looking in the mirror and she's so goddamn vain and puts so much emphasis on just her looks, and that's it. That the fact that she's getting ready for prom, the fact she has a picture of herself like right next to her mirror, you're like, God damn, this girl just, that's all she sees herself as, is a piece of ass. And it's really interesting when you think about how Megan Fox's career has gone and how she has definitely tried to go ahead and do more character driven stuff, because let's call it what it is. That's a large part of what Hollywood was putting on her. It was just the fact that's how Michael Bay portrayed her. You know, that's why she called him, you know, a fucking Nazi, and yet they worked together again. But I really think that there's a little more subtext in that scene than a lot of people will ever take away. But it ends up leading to a pretty admittedly awesome fight between Jennifer and Needy, to go ahead and close out the movie. Jennifer herself goes ahead and is willing to kill Needy. You know, she's kind of through with the no fun and games bullshit. She's willing to just rip Needy's throat out. But the whole sequence of it kind of culminating in Jennifer's room after Needy's boyfriend Chip gets killed by Jennifer, that's wild. It's a really wild sequence. So I mentioned that Jennifer ends up killing Chip. Here's my leap in logic that just for me I went, okay. He just had sex with Needy maybe 48 hours ago. Let's just say 48 hours because, you know, time frame. But he kind of hates Jennifer, and Jennifer hates him because because he gives Needy just the semblance of self-worth that Jennifer tries to constantly take away because of their power dynamic. So the whole concept that Chip would just go, oh yeah, fuck you, I think you suck. Oh, you're trying to sleep with me. Sure, let's fool around. It is a bit of a stretch. I get they're high school kids. I get it. But it is just kind of a leap considering it doesn't even feel like Chip is remotely attracted to Jennifer at all. So that was a bit, that really was kind of a, okay, which goes back to my whole point of, I don't think it's just a demon. I think there's still some Jennifer in there, because to go after Chip feels personal. Definitely to Jennifer, just for Jennifer to say that, actually, fuck, what am I saying? It feels personal. It is personal, because as Jennifer is seducing Chip, she even says, "Tell me I'm better than Needy," and I went, okay, well then what is the dynamic here with the demon? Okay, so it is just those things that I went, all right, like, and Chip has been such a loyal dude. Like, a dumbass, sure, but loyal to his girl. And so in the bottom of the ninth to kind of pull this shit, I went without any real hints, because you could have Chip even make a comment of, it would have been simple to be like, oh wow, like, Needy, you look great. Jennifer, you look great too. Just something like that. Even at the concert, it would have been easy to do stuff like that, and they just don't. So when the turn comes, it feels like it comes from out of nowhere. So I was rather agitated by that. But getting back to Jennifer's death, I love the way your death scene is filmed. The flipping of the camera, the fact that they're fighting on the actual fucking ceiling. I love that. I actually love that full fight scene, and I love that whole death. Um, One of the last great zingers that Needy gets in, Jennifer says, "I was Snowflake Queen." And without missing the beat, Needy goes, "Yeah, 2 years ago when you're socially relevant." It's like, ooh. And one of the things I do appreciate about the scene, especially, is that you could only say things like that to someone that you do love and that you have history with. And while I do think I definitely think the film for not establishing the foundation between Needy and Jennifer, you definitely do feel like the stuff that's shown off screen, there is some credence to it because of some of these lines. And really, a lot of it is in the delivery that Fox and Seyfried are bringing to these roles. So I really did. I really dug the last fight bit. Um, I did laugh pretty hard because Jennifer's mom comes into the room after Needy kills her, and I didn't even know Jennifer had a mom because we've never fucking seen Jennifer's mom at any fucking point in this movie. So when this older woman comes in, I went, "Oh, it's Jennifer's maid." It's like, "Oh, it's her mom." Same thing, but but I was like, "Oh, that's surprising, actually." And again, this is one of those points where I do feel like you could have had Jennifer, uh, Jennifer and her mom having an interaction or two of, maybe Jennifer wants to wear just like a spaghetti strap shirt that, shows a little boob, and then like her mom cuts like the midriff with scissors or something like that. Just to further emphasize the point that you are gorgeous and that's all I see you as. Like just these little things, these little tweaks that could have been made to the film, I think would have added quite a bit to it and let the film hit harder than it does, unfortunately. I do love where this movie ends up because we find out, of course, that Needy has gone ahead and developed some powers because of the altercation that she has with Jennifer. And you find out that basically if you're marked or your blood mixes with one of these demons, that you inherit some of their powers. So Needy gets the ability to like levitate and a few other things. And so she goes ahead and I wish this was in the actual movie, but I think the way that they do it in the credits is pretty clever. She has Seyfried has this killer line, pun intended, where she takes a cab to where Low Shoulder is staying at this hotel, and has this line about how tonight is going to be their last show. Subtle, but I love that line. Fucking love that line. And the credits shows Low Shoulder getting famous and achieving the fame that they wanted, and then Needy absolutely slaughtering the shit out of them. And that's where the movie ends. It ends with Needy killing Low Shoulder and, ending up in prison. And to be honest, this is where the Buffy comparisons for me really pick up, because I think you could easily have a 8 episode hour piece of miniseries, kind of monster of the week type continuation, just called the miniseries Needy. You could even have hit that she has, you can even have that she has a kid, or that she goes ahead and takes on an apprentice to go ahead and teach how to kill creatures or what have you. Like, there are multiple avenues you could go with this, and I don't know. I think there is more to mine from this universe, and you could bring back Megan Fox. Go ahead and honestly, the fact that she stabs Jennifer and kills her, the fact that she kills this demon, you could very easily say, like, have there be a way that Jennifer comes back. It wouldn't be hard to do. You could do some sort of resurrection spell, or even that aforementioned waterfall maybe there's some sort of healing factor in the water or something, or you could just bring Jennifer back through flashbacks. I mean, there are ways that you could go ahead and do it. So I think a TV show would allow for them to flesh out this world and fill in some of the gaps that I feel like the show or that the movie was missing as far as in its execution. But I do think that there is actually more to mine here. And if someone, I think Diablo Cody, even being like a co showrunner, I would love to see her work with someone else in the horror genre, someone a little more established. I mean, Jordan Peele obviously immediately comes to mind, but honestly, give me a Diablo Cody, Nia DaCosta co-ran Needy miniseries. I think that would fucking be aces. But getting to my final thoughts here, I understand that there will be people. I know that there are people who love Jennifer's body, and it could fucking matter less what I say. I completely understand that there will just be people who love the shit no matter what, and that's fine. You know what? Because, okay, I believe that one of the reasons why people love films so much is because of the emotion attached to them and what the films mean to them. That's why some people love the Twilight movies, no matter the fuck what. You know, it reminds them of going through high school, and there are memories attached to that, and I get it. You know, as shitty those movies can be, I get that that is a connection that people have to them. I totally get that. But I also think that stuff can just be shitty no matter what you attach to it. You know, I love Black Panther. I've talked about my love of Black Panther. There are some things that you can say that fall a little short, including the CGI in that last fight scene. Doesn't mean that the film is less. It just means that there is a criticism you can levy against it. And I think I've been fair as far as in my criticism on this movie. But I know, and again, this is just from friends of mine I've talked to, and just some Googling and just going on, Twitter and TikTok and stuff. I understand that this movie has a lot of goodwill towards it, just off the aspect alone that this was a movie that felt that allowed people to come out, that allowed people to, be able to define their sexuality and be able to have that courage. And I can't hate on a movie like that. Like, if this movie gave you that courage or helped you feel seen, that's awesome. I'm happy that this movie has that attachment for you. But just because a film has that attachment to you, and it conjures up those emotions, doesn't mean that it's, a great film. But at the same token, this is not the dumpster fire that a lot of men, let's call it what it is, wanted it to be. As per usual, the truth falls somewhere in the middle. So, like I said, I think I've been fair in my criticisms. I do think that if you're one of the people who hated this when you initially saw it, like I originally did, I think that there's enough separation between when the movie came out and today that hopefully you can go in with an open mind and watch it and maybe get something out of it. Not saying that you will, but like I said, I've watched stuff initially that I went, oh, this sucks, and then gone back and gone, oh wow, no, this is actually really good. So I would encourage you to give this an actual chance. Like, go in, clear mind, don't watch the trailer or anything, don't try not to think about how you felt when you initially saw it, but go in with an open mind. I think you'll be surprised. So I'm right on the cusp of a C plus, B minus. Like, I'm right on that edge. I will say, because of the fact that I think there is still more you could do with Needy, I'm gonna give this a B minus. I think that's fair, and I'm also thinking too about the fact that if one of my friends, if they had a son or daughter, or however you identify, if they had a kid and they were like, well, my 13-year-old kind of wants to go see Jennifer's body, I'd go, you know what? have them get a group of friends together and go to a theater and check it out. You know, if this is like a Fathom event or something like that, I'd tell my friends to go. And this is one of those movies I think is a perfect gateway movie into horror, especially if you're in that 13, 14-year-old range, because you might see this movie and be inspired to write your own horror movie or go, oh, what else can I watch, that has, female characters in it that's a horror movie. Ginger Snaps and The Craft are two good places to start, by the way. But this is something this is almost like Monsters, Inc. for kids, in the sense of if someone were like, what's a great horror, gateway movie? This is a good one. I would definitely recommend Heathers first, but if you're one of those kids that's like, an 80s movie, no thank you, I'd go, all right, fine, watch Jennifer's Body. But yeah, this is better than I remember it being. Some of my complaints I originally had are definitely still there, but yeah, I'll go B- on this. And like I said, it is the lowest B- because it's right there on like C+ range for me. But I think that if you went and saw this at an early matinee or at a special screening, that you'd have fun with it. So yeah, B- for Jennifer's Body. But Jennifer's Body, what'd you think about it, people? Let us know in the comments. You can go ahead and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Rate the show. It definitely helps us out. You can find us on SoundCloud, Apple, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts at The Real Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow me. Go and subscribe on Twitter or on YouTube. Oh my God. Go ahead and just search The Real Pineapple. That again is REEL Pineapple. You can go ahead and subscribe there. You can follow yours truly on Twitch at twitch.tv/JHunter Real Pineapple. That again is REEL Pineapple. I'm finally going to be on Twitch later this month. So go ahead and keep an eye out for details there. Go ahead and subscribe now so you'll know, but I'll keep y'all updated on the socials. You can follow all of our socials at linktr.ee/JHunterRealPineapple. You can follow me on Blue Sky because I'm so fancy. You can follow me on there at JHunterRealPineapple. Don't forget to like both our Facebook pages at The Real Pineapple and Real Pineapple Games. Oh gosh, where else? You can also find the show on. You can follow yours truly on Letterboxd at Black Shazam, and you can follow me on TikTok at Black Shazam as well. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. As we get more into October, we're gonna have more Halloween reviews, including reviews for all the Scream movies. I'm really excited to get into those. Have a review for The Wrath of Becky, which is, of course, a sequel to Becky. Gonna have reviews up for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. The Invitation, because I did mention I was going to review that earlier, but I'll have a review up for that. And we will have reviews up to finish up the Twilight Saga. Our reviews for Twilight, New Moon, and Breaking Dawn Part 1 are up right now. By the time you listen to this, our reviews for Eclipse and Breaking Dawn Part 2 will be up as well. And I'll also have reviews for Fresh, No One Will Save You, X, and Pearl also on the channel as well for Halloween. And I'm going to be reviewing the new Haunted Mansion film as well, so I'll have a review up for that as well. A lot of Halloween reviews this month, but everyone, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe out there. Take care of each other. Get your latest COVID shot. Get your latest booster. Get vaccinated, for fuck's sake, if you haven't already. Get your flu shot as well. We are heading into winter. Want y'all to be safe. But again, thank you for support. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to keep it real.